Mr. Mad Dog Lassiter. Feel free to call no matter what your beef may be. However, it's only fair to warn you that Mr. Lassiter has been known to make hamburger out of sacred cows. And now here he is, Bob Lassiter.
After the hour of 8 o'clock Friday night, May the 1st, 1987. A very good Friday to you. Lassiter with you until 11 every Monday through Friday and every 4th or 5th Saturday from 9 in the morning until noon. And tomorrow happens to be one of those 4th or 5th Saturdays. Now, of course, it is cruel and unusual punishment to ask someone who works until 11 o'clock to come back in here at 9 o'clock. But that's besides the point. So tomorrow morning should really be interesting as we sit here and complain bitterly about the management who would ask us to come in at that ungodly hour. We'll get involved in as well. An interesting day for me. First of all, I wish to thank you very much because we are still the #1 rated Tampa Bay talk show. The book came in today, and not only are we still the #1 talk show, this time period increased about 20%. Just a little under 20. Just a shade under 20%. And for that, I thank you very much. Another piece of business I want to get down to before we proceed with the program. I'm very pleased with the response to date on the So Far campaign, the Save Our First Amendment's Right campaign. I also understand don't feel as though you could go out and get a full petition with 25 names filled up and sent in, and I understand that. You have no great problem with it. So if you would like to take part in the So Far campaign, but don't feel as though you can, put yourself to the time, grief, and aggravation for whatever the reason to get 25 names, instead of for a petition or whatever it might be. Words to that effect, okay? And that address, of course, WPLP, P.O. Box 48579, 48579, St. Pete, 33743. And needless to say, if you think you can, and if you want to get involved in getting the petition filled out, petitions are still available. Let's see. Okay, tonight. We have no guest. It is just you and I. And tonight we're just going to kind of go at random. Some people call it open phone. Some people call it open conversation. We're going to just call it tonight at random. Because many are the times when I miss the big story of the day that you guys want to talk about. You know, I'm off talking about something else. And I kind of miss out on what it is that you want to talk about. So tonight we'll just throw it open. Anything your little heart desires. Get it off your chest. Oh, you'll feel so much better for it. I promise you, you will. You'll feel ever so much better for it. Did you ever wonder what became of the war on drugs? I don't know what made me think of that, but nonetheless. Whatever happened to the war on drugs? Whatever happened to the year of the Bible? Whatever happened to the return to traditional values? Has nothing whatsoever to do with the program, just a couple of weird random thoughts that ran through my mind. I do wish to give my regrets to the bloodthirsty good citizens out there who are being denied the joy of executing a sick and pathetic man in the Billy Furry case. I know that you're all very, very upset about that, and the juice. Sorry about that, gang. I was visiting a client earlier this week. Client does service work. I won't mention who the client was or even give you any indication as to who it might be. The client does service work, and when we were sitting around talking, the client told me that he has approximately 60% of his staff are Vietnam veterans. Roughly 6 out of 10 of the people that work for him are Vietnam vets. And after he told me that, he said, please, whatever you do, don't ever mention that on the air. And I said, why? You know, it's something to be proud of. And he said, well, yeah, sure, it's something to be proud of, but people are afraid of Vietnam vets, if people knew that we employed Vietnam veterans in this organization. And I was staggered. I frankly can't believe that. Is that true? And if it is true, it's got to be the saddest story I have ever heard. Another weird thing on my mind tonight. I mean, I'm just going at random. All these weird things, and you guys can pick it up any time you want to. Jim Baker. Oh, my goodness, what a lovely press conference this afternoon. And I read in the paper that the man is spending, 6, 7, 8, 10 hours a day studying the Bible. It's about time. Can't begin to imagine what he's looking for unless it's loopholes. Another thing I wanted to touch on tonight. Oh, my God, this is really the whole reason I came in here. These Channel 10 commercials with Cheryl Brown.
I like them.
You gagged me with a spoon.
Yeah, right.
Give me a break.
Give you a break.
I mean, have you seen these things? There are two that I'm familiar with. There may be more than two of them. I hope not, but there are two. One, she's sitting there and she's just gushing about John Wilson. And, his voice just wraps around mine. Oh, it's so great. And she joins her little fingers together. And the other one, she's sitting there talking about the joys of a 1-hour newscast versus a half-hour newscast. And she says, there's so many times I turn to John and I say, John, that story wouldn't have gotten on if we only had a half-hour newscast.
Yeah, right.
Someone should burn those videotapes. Someone should burn those videotapes so that they are never, ever aired again. That woman is an embarrassment. I mean, I watched those advertisements, and I tell you, it's the strongest damned argument I have ever heard for an afternoon newspaper in this market. So that people could get their news by reading it and wouldn't have to watch this, wouldn't have to go through it. His voice just wraps around mine. Oh, it's so great. Oh, giggle, giggle, giggle. Ugh. I don't know. Last I heard, 2,190 bozos parted with 50 cents. 50 cents of their hard-earned money. I mean, hey, I'm sorry. 50 cents is still a significant amount of money to me. Especially when it comes to giving it to the phone company. 2,190. 50 cents to vote on the name of the new St. Petersburg domed stadium, as though anybody cares. That's a staggering number. I would be surprised if they ever put 2,190 people in the damn place. I mean, can you imagine parting with $50? The Great George's Florida Suncoast Dome, or the Suncoast Dome, and it's my understanding, I could be wrong about this, but it is my understanding that they did indeed name this turkey today, and the winner was, are you ready? It's not even worth it. It's not even worth it to tell you. I don't know, I'm kind of depressed tonight. Life just will not be quite the same without Jim and Tammy. How can we possibly go on without Jim and Tammy to kick around? And there's poor Jim standing out in front of his palatial Palm Springs home today saying that it would take a miracle before he and Tammy would ever minister again. That's another way of saying it would take a miracle before Jim and Tammy would ever get the opportunity to fleece sheep again. Would you guys please do me a favor? Would you please do me a favor? This is very important to me. Could you all start watching Ernest Angley? So that I can go after him. I mean, right now there aren't enough of you watching Ernest Angley.
Well,
you need to familiarize yourself with him so that you'll understand what it is that I'm talking about when I start going after Ernest. And what a tragedy it is that Jan and Paul Crouch aren't on in this market. Now, some of you know who Jan and Paul are, but I suppose most of you don't. The only thing I can tell you about Jan and Paul Crouch is that they make Jim and Tammy seem like normal folk. So perhaps in addition to starting to watch Ernest Angley, you could get in touch with your cable operator and ask him to pick up Jan and Paul. Because, man, if you thought you had something to talk about with Jim and Tammy, you ain't seen nothing till you've seen Jan and Paul. I mean, they invented the word floozy for Jan. I heard a story today. I was watching television. I heard a story that kind of sickens and embarrasses me. It was a story about Jackie Robinson celebrating the 40th anniversary of his introduction into the major leagues. and the first road trip that the Dodgers took that year to Philadelphia. And they didn't bother to name the owner of the Philadelphia Phillies. They just mentioned the owner of the Philadelphia Phillies, and it's a man named Bob Carpenter, who may or may not still be alive. If he is, he's quite elderly. And he no longer owns the Philadelphia Phillies. He sold them about 4 or 5 years ago. But I'd always thought of Mr. Carpenter as being one hell of a decent man. I'd always thought of him that way, until this afternoon when I heard a story about how he had called up the Dodger organization and told them if they came to town with Jackie Robinson, that there would be riots in the streets of Philadelphia, and his team would not take the field. They would not play if there was a Negro on the opposing team. The Dodgers, of course, did the right thing. They shouted into the phone, "Great, we'll pick up 3 wins by forfeit," and hung up. He came to town with Jackie Robinson. Well, Mr. Carpenter and the Philadelphia Phillies backed down, and they did go out and play. And in that first game, it was a pitcher's duel until the 7th or 8th inning, when Jackie Robinson got a single. The score was 0-0. He then stole second base, and there was a bad throw, and so he then stole third base. He took a huge lead off of third. The pitcher was completely riled. He threw the ball to the plate. Whoever was up, I don't recall his name, got a little single. And Jackie Robinson scored and beat the Philadelphia Phillies 1-0. The story embarrasses me because, first of all, the Philadelphia area is my home. The Philadelphia Phillies are my first love after Mary, of course. I've followed them like a fool for 41 years, and I will probably continue to follow them for the rest of the time I have on this planet. But when I heard that story today, I'd never heard it before. It suddenly dawned on me that to the best of my knowledge, and I'm pretty damn sure I'm correct on this, to the best of my knowledge, it wasn't until 1964, before the Philadelphia Phillies had a black man on the roster. I didn't find that peculiar as a kid. I guess I just didn't know any better. But as a 41-year-old man, after hearing the story I heard today, and then thinking back, and I believe the man's name was Tony Curry, I'm pretty sure he was the first black player in the Philadelphia Phillies uniform in 1964. All of this was only 40 years ago when Jackie Robinson broke into baseball. But it was obviously a totally different world from the one that we live in now. There's still a very, very long way to go, to be sure. But obviously we have made some progress. Even though at times it seems as though we haven't. We have made some progress. And I can't help but wonder what the next 40 years will be. What kind of progress might be made. In any event, there are all the things that are on my mind tonight. The rest of the program is yours. The phone numbers that put you on the air at WPLP.
And you say, Bob?
Through the time, one line open. It's in Hillsborough, 224-0057. It is wild and open and fancy-free tonight. Hi, Gulf Porcher on the air, WPLP.
Bob, yesterday I listened to 5 hours of talk on the Ferry case, and I had both stations going, and I was nonplussed, chagrined, bowled over. Out of 5 hours of talk, there were 4 human beings who called in to say they did not think it was right to press the button on a mentally ill man.
I didn't listen to talk radio yesterday, but I did listen to some today, and it was pretty much the same story. I heard 3 hours of the exact same thing that you're talking about.
Holy God, I couldn't believe it. I mean, I told one guy, like, I said, boy, this sounds like Pithecanthropus erectus, and he didn't know what it meant, so I said, Cro-Magnon, Teilhard de Chardin, the Peking man, you guys are right one step up from that. And, I still can't believe it. When I was in New York last October, that was the rage of every talk show, how in Florida we killed people who are mentally and myself, you see. One guy really burned me up on the other talk show because he told one human being who was probably a manic that he should go home and take his lithium. So naturally, I tried to get back on him.
Wait a second. Who was the man that did that?
Well, you know, Dick, what's his name? It's a mental block. It's a Freudian block with me on WFLA. Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, that dinglebird. And I can't even believe he's got an IQ of 1. So anyway, when he told that man to go home and take his lithium, I thought, why, you SO. So, I wanted to get back on to say, hey, listen, baby, if Abraham Lincoln and Robert Oppenheimer and Thomas Alva Edison were still kicking, and Winston Churchill, they'd be all on lithium, too, you know. That's just to name a few of us.
Or in the chair if they lived in Florida.
Huh?
Or in the chair if they lived in Florida.
That's right. That's right. Now, isn't this great for human civilization? We've made a lot of progress in 2,000 years. And you know what? I bet half of them that called were born-again Christians, saying it's better to fry them. I mean, I'm not against born-again.
Well, I don't know that they were born-again Christians, but I'll bet you that 90% of them that called were believers in God.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. So I told them all finally, I was so damn mad, I said, listen, you better watch Shoah tonight. You've got a lot to learn.
Most of the excuses that I heard today boiled down to, well, the cost. Consider the cost of keeping this man alive. You know, so obviously human life has a price. And, you know, is it any wonder? Is it any wonder at all that the punks out on the street view human life to be worth about as much as the so-called good citizens?
You know, what are we teaching our kids when they listen to talk radio and hear that good stuff? And we're supposed to be teaching reverence for life. Why, hell, what is it? I mean, we've made a lot of progress since Pithecanthropus erectus, I might add. But thanks for letting me get my manic forked tongue in. And I'd like some response on this. And boy, I hope we get more than one human being out there tonight that doesn't think that guy should be fried. And let me tell you, if you want to fry paranoids, let me tell you, to cut down on their suffering, they're suffering from the moment they're born into this world. And I thank God every time I'm in hypomania that I'm a manic instead of a schizophrenic. Boy, let me tell you, they are in deep hell. I can swing around in 3 days with lithium, but they can't, God help them.
Okay.
Thank you, baby.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Gosh, I hope they don't want to fry paranoids. Take all the talk show hosts. St. Petersburg, hi, you're on the air, WPLP.
How you doing, Bob?
Fine, thank you.
I've been listening to your show for quite some time, and I think it's great.
Thank you.
I've never called you before, and I listen to your talk show to try to learn how to talk. I'm not too good at communicating, you know, saying proper words to.
Mm-hmm.
So I listen to people over the air, and the discussions are very enlightening. And I want to call you tonight to ask you, did you read about me in the paper yesterday?
Did I read about you in the paper yesterday? Not that I can recall.
Yes, sir. I was on the back page. I am the black student that went to the Hillsborough County School Board because of
in that case,
they're using the term nigger in the classroom.
In that case, I did skim that article. Yes, I did read about you.
Yes, sir. And I wanted to say that since everybody's read the article, I couldn't say anything that would be one-sided, in my defense. But the school superintendent was whatever doing with integrity in this case, because it boils down to their word against mine. In most of the cases of this thing, and I said that I would pay out of my pocket for any lie detector agency to come in, and we will go through this process to see where the truth lies. If it has to go to that extent, because while I was in that classroom, this is not only for me as a black man that I brought this to the attention of the school board. While I was there, I joined a class of 35 students, along with maybe 15 guys that went in with me. I saw all 35 of those students leave that class before graduation. And all of the people in my group that went into that classroom, only 8 remained last month, from June of last year.
Amazing. Well, look, about all I can say is good luck with your efforts there to get some type of satisfaction out of this.
And thank you very much for letting me air my views, Bob. Thank you very much, and you have a great show.
Take care.
Have a good night, sir.
One line open. It's in Hillsborough, 224-0057. Tampa, you're on air, WPLP.
Hello.
Hello.
I want to talk about the young American who was killed in Nicaragua.
Mm-hmm.
My opinion is that he was part of a group that composed of North Vietnamese and
part of a group composed of North Vietnamese. I thought it was an American,
North Vietnamese, PLO. They call
PLO too.
They call them international.
Mm-hmm. No, sir, he's called an American, and he has a right to be there.
Yeah, he has the right to be there. I know that. But the right to be there makes him a traitor. Because
I beg your pardon, sir. It doesn't make him a traitor. We happen to not be at war with Nicaragua. As a matter of fact, we happen to have diplomatic relations with Nicaragua. And he was there, sir. He was there working on a water and electricity project.
Well, you forget the technicality. You're not so...
sir, it is not a technicality. It is a fact.
A fact that he was helping people who are...
You want to talk about traitors, sir? Let's talk about you being a traitor.
Why?
Where's your home, sir?
My home here in Tampa?
No, where are you originally from, sir?
Well, the fact that I come from Cuba, I know...
you ran like hell, too, didn't you, sir? You wouldn't stay and fight. So, let's talk about traitors, huh?
Well,
Yeah, let's talk about traitors, sir. Now, you're one of those people that ran here and wants me to go back and save your country. Yeah, let's talk about traitors. Why the hell aren't you back there?
Why don't you say...
What are you doing sitting here calling American citizens traitors for, traitor?
You are a traitor. You yourself are...
You're gone. Another great Cuban patriot who fights communism from Ybor City. With your kid's blood. Clearwater, you're on the air at WPLP.
Hey, Bob.
Hi.
How you doing tonight?
Fine.
Man, I tell you something. You got the best show on the air.
Thank you.
I'm going to tell you, I was listening to you last night coming home from work.
Mm-hmm.
What were you saying about those people with the prayers and everything?
Mm-hmm.
And, man, I agree 100%. I am not a hypocrite. I've got 2 children myself. And, I've got two uncles who are priests down in the Caribbean. They were high priests. They passed away now. But I haven't baptized them, or I don't go to church myself or anything of that nature, although my parents tried to indoctrinate me into that way of life and so forth. But, Bob, if they send you to Cleveland, I'm going to get me a shortwave radio.
Well, they can't quite make up their mind whether or not I should drop dead or go to Cleveland. They can't figure out which is worse.
You're tough, man. You're the hardest of the hard. I'm going to tell you something. You're truthful. And God bless you, man. I'm going to tell you something. You're great.
Thank you much.
You're an excellent speaker, and I listen to you all the time.
Appreciate it.
Well, I shouldn't say God bless you. I said live a good life.
Okay.
All right, guys?
All right.
Bye.
Bye-bye. 8:34 the time. I'm Bob Lassiter.
To join in the conversation, the number to call in Hillsborough County is...
And I couldn't understand why, as a talk show personality, that you took off on this poor man that just called in. I didn't hear that. Oh, I didn't hear that, so that's why I'm clearing this up. But I thought you were defending the young man that was down, that was killed, supposedly. We don't know with that kind of government. They would shoot him and make him a martyr. Let's face it, we know that.
I beg your pardon, the Contras have already admitted to killing him.
Well,
you should know the whole story before you call up and try to debate it. And yes, indeed, I was defending him. It was his right to be there.
Well, as an American, they were warned not to be there.
I beg your pardon. There's no such warning, ma'am. There are no travel restrictions whatsoever to Nicaragua. Anyone is entitled to go to Nicaragua. It's a nation with which we maintain full diplomatic relations.
Well, here we go again, right? Here we go again. And anyone naive enough to go down there that you know and I know that government would kill anyone to make a martyr out of them.
Ma'am, the Contras have already admitted to killing him. The Contras. Do you know which side the Contras are?
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Well, then it wasn't the government of Nicaragua that killed him, ma'am. It was our mercenaries.
Do you realize what the other side is?
Yes, ma'am. I do.
Do you really?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
They are the great, they're going to save the world?
No, ma'am, I doubt very much they're going to save the world. They're trying to save their country right now, and they happen to be very foolish and naive people.
Which ones?
Both.
Oh, I love it. I just absolutely love it. How how you're trying to come across as a talk show host. I can understand how you're trying to turn this, and you make everybody...
Oh, I beg your pardon, ma'am. Ma'am, I beg your pardon. First of all, I didn't bring up the topic. And secondly, don't mistake me with one of the bozos who works in talk radio in Sarasota. I don't play games.
Oh,
I say what's on my mind, and I say what's in my heart. I don't, take the devil's advocate to get phone calls nonsense. This is the big time, lady. It's not Sarasota.
Oh, I was not putting Sarasota on the line. I'm calling you as a person. You invited me to call you. You invited everyone to call you, not Sarasota. You invited everyone to call you. And then you start putting all of us down that call you. You put us down.
No, ma'am, I don't put everybody that calls down. I put people who say silly things down.
That's right. As long as they don't agree with you, you put them down.
Oh, no, ma'am, nothing could be further from the truth. Nothing could be further from the truth, ma'am, but you're calling up on a story. Man, you're calling up on a story that you don't even know the facts of.
Oh, see, that is so typical.
Yes, ma'am, it is very typical of people like you to call up and you don't even know what the story is.
It's very typical with people like you.
Yeah, right, ma'am. Well, it's very typical with people like you to call up and have things backwards.
That's right. So you're going to cut me off because every time we challenge you, you urge people to call and express their opinion.
Lady, again, you don't know what the hell you're talking about. You see, what this whole show is about is getting bozos like you on the phone, keeping you on the phone as long as I possibly can so I can rip you to shreds because you don't know what the hell you're talking about.
Okay, then rip me. Rip me.
I just did, lady.
No, you didn't.
Oh, didn't I?
No, you didn't.
You don't even know what you're talking about.
Okay, you tell me what I'm talking about. You did not rip me. You tried, but you didn't do it.
Well, ma'am, you don't know who killed the young man, do you?
I don't, and you don't.
Yes, I do, ma'am.
No, you don't.
Yes, I do. The federal government has told me, and the Contras have told me. They killed the young man.
Well, he probably deserved it being down there anyway. He was told not to.
Oh, he probably deserved it, being an unarmed civilian worker working on a water and electricity project for an area that desperately needs it, where there are tens of thousands of people who live without clean water and electricity.
Okay, sweetie, you trapped yourself.
Oh, did I?
On the news, on CBS, they said he had just put his rifle down. He had just put his...
Yes, he was unarmed.
Now, he was armed.
He was unarmed, lady, if he just put it down.
And
you vote?
So
lady, do you vote?
Oh, you better believe it.
That's what I was afraid of. Tampa, you're on the air at WPLT.
Good evening, Bob.
Good evening.
Bob, I wanted to make a couple of comments about something closer to home. I'm a Howard Stern fan from way back. As a matter of fact, I still have friends up there who send me down tapes every now and then. Regarding all this business as to what he was saying on the air and so forth, there were many times where, he did go a little to the extremes. But to tell you the truth, most of his stuff was tamer than the original Saturday Night Live. There were several times when I felt that he was getting a little bit out of hand, and whenever that happened, I simply turned the radio off. I mean, I've got a daughter, and there was plenty of stuff that, I didn't want her to hear.
Got about 40 stations to choose from up there.
Yeah. But I respect his right to say whatever he wants on the air.
And I respect the right of the people who wish to listen to it. I find it rather immature locker room humor for the most part. I find Howard Stern to be boring. I've listened to Howard Stern tapes, and they don't do anything for me at all. I couldn't possibly sit home and listen to that stuff night in and night out. Or day in and day out, as the case may be.
A lot of it was social commentary with an edge of sophomoric humor.
Mm-hmm.
But, I do agree a lot of it was just garbage. But, it's a chance to get away from your lackluster morning radio. And as I said, there were plenty of times when I felt he was getting too out of hand. I turned the radio off. But
frankly, I would rather listen to locker room humor and sexual innuendo than I would listen to racial pejorative statements as we have the pleasure of doing in this market.
That's true. That's absolutely true. And I heard last night you said there's a chance that he may be coming to this area?
There's a rumor.
Yeah.
It's a rumor.
Listen, I just wanted to mention something else you mentioned about Ernest Ainsley.
Mm-hmm.
I remember watching a program years ago, and this is no lie. There was a gentleman on there who said he had cancer. And from what I remember, Ernest prayed over his words, slapped him on the back, and up came what looked to be like chicken gizzards right into his hand, and he put this thing up above his head and said, "Cancer."
Oh, he's just a great one. I really do wish that people would start watching him now that Jim and Tammy are definitely gone, so that we can have something to talk about. So there'll be a point of reference. You'll understand what it is. He's just great. Ernest Angley is perhaps the entire lot.
Well, maybe you ought to start announcing what time he's on, because I'm not even sure when he's on out here.
Well, he's on at 9 o'clock in the morning on Channel 22, which, I know is not convenient for a lot of you, but it would be worth it to stay home from work for a few days, at least take an hour off, watch Ernest, so then you'll know what we're talking about on the program.
Well, maybe I'll tape it.
Okay.
Okay, good night.
Be good. One line open, it's in Hillsborough, 224-0057. St. Pete, you're on the air, WPLP.
Yes, hi, Mr. Lassiter?
Hi there.
Hi. Normally I call up to argue with you once in a while, but I do happen to agree, and the lady who called a few minutes ago bugged me a little. The young fellow who was killed in Nicaragua was down there exerting his beliefs and his rights.
Exactly. He was a naive, idealistic young man.
Yes, sir. And it bugs me to hear somebody put him down. And so whether we agree with the Nicaraguan, whether the Sandinistas or not, that was a young American man who did believe in what he was doing, and he had a right to.
Exactly. And there's a very important sidebar here. I don't agree with the Sandinista government, nor do I support the Sandinista government, but I do agree and support that peasants living out in the remote mountains should have clean water and electricity.
You got it.
And that is something that we never did with Mr. Somoza.
Yep. You got it. I'm not sure I agree with the Contras.
I don't agree with them either. They're right-wing thugs.
I agree with that young man and trying to help the peasants. And anybody who puts him down, doggone it, I think they're wrong.
Had we done that 20 years ago, we wouldn't have Sandinistas in Nicaragua today.
We can't argue. Not tonight.
I thank you much.
Okay.
Be good.
Bye.
That opens up a line in Pinellas, 393-0057. Madeira Beach, hi, you're on the air, WPLP.
Hi.
Hi.
My husband came up with something which I thought was very funny. Tomorrow in the Kentucky Derby, the best, the pick of the bet is Demons Be Gone. That is the horse that is picked as the best one.
As the best one or just the favorite?
No, the best, the very best.
The best one. Okay.
And my husband said, why don't all the TV evangelists bet on Demons Be Gone?
Well, they probably know better.
They should make a lot of money. And Jim and Tammy could make a whole bundle.
I think they already have.
Well, I know they have.
Without going to the track.
But don't you think that's kind of funny? Demons Be Gone?
Sounds like a silly name to me.
Well, I think everybody should bet on it.
Okay.
Okay, love.
All right.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Pinellas, 393-0057, 393-0057. Gulfport, hi, you're on the air, WPLP.
That's me?
That's you.
Bob, how we doing?
Fine, I guess.
You guess? Kind of wild. I'm kind of nervous here calling you. I've been listening to your show for a little while now. And, I'm not the smartest person. Well, I didn't get much school in my younger years. And I keep hearing a lot of talk, they talk about lesbians, a problem with lesbians. I looked everywhere. Where the hell's lesbia?
I don't know.
I looked through the maps, I looked through the atlas, I went and bought me some books. I can't find, where'd they come from?
Can't help you, I don't know anything about them.
Well, gosh, I hope somebody might know something to be able to call in. Because, it's been bugging me for a long time. I don't know. I don't know where the hell are these people coming from?
I sometimes wonder the same thing myself.
Beat the tariff at Mad Max. Many analysts are predicting 100% price increases in electronic merchandise.
8:50 the time. Pinellas, 393-0057.